Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. It's September 26th, and I'm Chris Allen here on the Sam channel, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X, all sponsored by Ace Hardware Marketplace. Of course, the big story today is going to be Hurricane Helene, which has now jumped to a Category 2 hurricane. That happened, let's see, the current time is 7:53 as I do this podcast. It happened almost an hour ago. But yeah, it's happening. That rapid intensifying is taking place as we speak. More on that in just a moment. Here's a look at the Plano cam from my front window here in Plano, Kentucky, a suburb of Bowling Green, if you did not know. And for instance, here we've got blue skies and sunshine, but that is not going to last. That is going to change as we go through the day. Clouds will reappear, and then things are going to go more downhill from there as we get into especially this evening and during the day tomorrow. Now, let me bring you the very latest on Hurricane Helene, and here's the way it all stacks up. And I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit more so you can tell what's going on here if I can. Yeah, let me see here. It's not going to let me. Okay, well, I'll do the best I can here. But here is the current position of Helene moving into the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. As I mentioned, it is now a Category 2 hurricane with maximum sustained wind at 100 miles per hour, but occasionally we're getting some wind gusts around the center of the storm. And you can see that the hurricane type winds or tropical storm type winds extend now all the way to the southeastern coast of Florida. So they're starting to feel some of the wind and getting some of the waves, especially down along Key West. Saw some video coming from there this morning, and it's already being battered. So it's a fast moving system. It's moving, let's see here, at 12 miles per hour, which is not very slow at all. And so this thing is going to, what that M stands for is major hurricane. As it goes to a Category 3, which it's forecast to do some point today, then it becomes a major hurricane, anything 3 or above in category. And then it's going to go to a 4 before it makes landfall sometime tonight in the Big Bend area of the Florida Peninsula and the Panhandle area. It looks like it's going to aim for Tallahassee, at either Apalachicola or Tallahassee, kind of in that window there, that white track that you see. Tallahassee would be right in there, and then Apalachicola a little further south and east. But in either case, that's where it's supposed to make landfall as a possible Category 4 wind that would put it over 130 miles per hour. And then it's still hurricane strength as we get into Friday morning. As it moves toward Atlanta, Georgia, it still could be maybe even a Category 1 or a Category 2 hurricane inland. Then it quickly weakens to tropical depression strength, but look where it's going to sit. Friday evening, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and even beyond this, it just sits here over Tennessee and Kentucky. And that means we are going to get some wind and rain from Helene. It is going to be one of those situations where beginning tonight, we're going to start to feel some of the winds coming in, the clouds will come in, and even some of the rains associated with Helene will start to affect us here in southern Kentucky. It is going to happen that quickly. Let's go to radar, and I will show you just exactly where Helene is, and some of the radar returns are. And look at Tennessee. Tennessee's already full of a flood watch. Flood watch in effect, wind advisories in effect. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens to us today. At some point, flood watch and wind advisories are going to go up for our area as well. But look at these tropical warnings going all the way up to Chattanooga. That's crazy. And already, now look at all this rain. Now, this rain is not associated with Helene. This is all associated with the cold front that is laying just to our east and is going to back up and return our direction, retrograde, if you will, because when Helene moves in and moves through Georgia, it's going to push that front back into our area. So the combination of that front and Helene is really going to ramp up our rain chances here over time. You can see that already, and this is down near Cuba, Key West, Florida. This is where you can see the center of circulation right there, just due west of Key West, Florida. That's where Helene is located. And as you can see, it's rapidly moving off to the north. These are all hurricane watches, mostly warnings now. And some of the outer bands that are coming through Tampa, St. Pete area, some of that is associated with Helene. But the rest of this to the north is all associated with a cold front and not Helene. But just to give you a look at how encompassing this whole thing is, I mean, this is going to be one of the larger storms as far as a tropical storm goes, and one of the stronger storms that we've had in a long time. So we are anticipating some very dangerous weather, and unfortunately some storm surge at 10 to 15 feet there in Florida. And it's just going to knock out power. It's going to flood and inundate neighborhoods, businesses. It's going to be a big, big, big problem in Florida, and then into Georgia as the system moves northward. And we're going to get our own bit of wind and rain out of the remnants of Helene. You can look at it here. This is the high resolution satellite view, because I wanted to give you just a little more perspective on what we're looking at here. I mean, this storm is very, very wound up and very large. You can area of Florida, that's when it's going to become a little more of a realized storm that is going to be very impactful. To see any of the clouds we get into tonight and tomorrow, the clouds that we will see gathering today will be from this old cold front, which is already east of us. But then, as I mentioned, it's going to be pushed back into Kentucky, and that's going to bring us the first wave of rain tonight, with the heavier rain and wind tomorrow as Helene starts to move into Georgia and eventually into middle Tennessee, and then it's going to come right into our area. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so the voice is cutting in and out. Oh, okay. It's probably better now because I'm off of that high resolution satellite. It took up some bandwidth. That's the only problem with showing that is it takes up some bandwidth, but now we should be back. Oops. Sorry. Okay. Now let's try that again. Let's try moving on to the next thing, which is, of course, the Kentucky Mesonet network, and temperatures this morning currently as of 8:02 Central Time this morning. 60s everywhere you look. Not bad at all. And we didn't have really any rain yesterday. You can see that there was nothing. I mean, there may have been a sprinkle or something around the area, but not much of anything. The winds are coming out of the north, light, but they're going to pick up big time, especially tonight. Dew points are in the low 60s and even upper 50s, so it doesn't feel quite as muggy as it has the last couple of days. That is going to change, though. The mugginess is going to go up. The amount of moisture in the air is going to go up as well with the remnants of Helene moving in. Now, will there be severe weather? Most likely not, as far as what you think of severe weather, like severe storms and tornadoes. That's going to be further south where there's more spin in the atmosphere, and it's going to be much weaker by the time it gets here, but still it is going to bring us a lot of wind and rain. There could be in our neck of the woods maybe some limited severe weather, but I'm really not looking for anything that's going to be dangerous. The winds are going to be anywhere from 30 to 40, but we could have some higher gusts up to 50 miles per hour as we get into the day tomorrow, especially. Look at the blend of models here, the model blender. We're going to go near 80 today, and then we're going to go upper 60s to low 70s through the weekend as the remnants of Helene sit here and bring us clouds and rain and wind. Then we see even cooler temperatures coming into next week, which is the first full week of October. And as it should, it's time to cool down. It's time to look and feel more like fall. And I think next week is when we will really begin to realize that, and things will start to fall in line with fall-like weather. Okay, let's take a look at the maps here before I go. There's the stalled front. It's going to wait on Helene to get here, and there she is out in the Gulf as it comes on in this afternoon and this evening. There she is, still full hurricane strength, 984 millibars. Goodness gracious. That's why we think it's going to go category 4 on the scale before it makes landfall again around Tallahassee, which is right there, Apalachicola, which is more on the coast. But somewhere in this area is where Helene is going to make landfall. And then it's going to meet up with the stalled front, and that's where our rain will start. It won't start as rain from Helene at first. It is going to be rain from this old front, and then it spreads even more to the west and north as Helene starts to move in and starts to meet up with the energy of this frontal boundary. So as we get into the day tomorrow, or actually this evening, that's this evening, then as we get into the day tomorrow, Helene, still a hurricane as it moves toward Columbus, Georgia, then toward Atlanta. We're going to get some enhanced rainfall. Look at the tight isobars here. Equal lines of pressure. That means wind. It is going to be a windy and wet day tomorrow and tomorrow night and Saturday morning. As you can see, then it becomes a tropical storm, then a tropical depression. And it's going to sit right over the land between the lakes as we get into Saturday. Here's Saturday morning with the heavy rainfall and breezy conditions. It's going to move very little as we get into Sunday. We're going to keep a chance of showers in the forecast for Sunday. By Monday, the low pressure sits west of Nashville. And then by Tuesday, it finally gets caught up by some upper wind and it moves away. And then here's Wednesday with a cold front coming through, and this is going to bring in some better weather, less humid air as we get rid of the rains from Helene. and the winds as well. So, it is going to be quite interesting how all this plays out. It is going to be the big, not only weather story, but it's also going to become the big news story of the next several days, because unfortunately we do anticipate some devastation, some destruction, power outages, flooding, wind damage, and all of that as a result of Helene making landfall probably around midnight tonight or early tomorrow morning as a Category 4 hurricane. All right. Thanks for chiming in this morning and asking some of those questions. I tried to answer some of those in the chat box as those of you chimed in this morning. I will have an update on all of this coming up at 5, 6, and 10 o'clock tonight on News 40, and of course on the News 40 weather app, which you can download by scanning that QR code that's right there in the graphics. In the meantime, have a great day. Thanks for watching.